Good morning, everyone. We will get started in just a moment. We're still waiting for several more people to join us, but I will be mindful of your time and we'll start pretty promptly at 10. Hello and welcome to today's wellness webinar, which is all about attitude. I'm Johanna Dunlevy, the Wellness Manager with Employee and Family Resources. And I want to thank anyone and everyone who took the time to join me today. I understand there is a lot going on in the world, in our communities, in our workplaces, and with our families. And EFR recognizes that this is a difficult time for all people. And we want to remind you that we are here to help. At EFR, we say life happens, we're here to help. And in this particular case, we could say COVID-19 happens and we're here to help. I'm going to share more on your EAP benefits at the end of the webinar today, so please hang on until the end to learn more about how we can help you during this time. But before we address that, I want to get started on our important theme for today and this new month, since today is the 1st of April, and that is all about attitude. So this sign is becoming all too familiar for us as our lives have been disrupted by the closures of schools, workplaces, churches, parks, movie theaters, shopping centers, restaurants, support groups, you name it. It's likely closed, or things that can be have been moved to an online presence with pretty minimal human contact and connection. Now, every month, EFR provides wellness webinars that align with our monthly motivator topic. And this particular month, April, is all about attitude. And the timing could not have been better. Last summer, so the summer of 2019, as I was developing all of our 2020 monthly motivator themes, I never would have guessed that a theme on attitude could be so fitting for the times we're experiencing right now. So while many places are closed right now, the one thing that should not be closed or closed off is you and your mind. So all I'm asking for in the next 10 minutes is for you to keep an open mind and think about how some of the things that I'll be sharing could possibly lift your spirits, boost your mood, make a difference in your life. I want to address a few things that are very common right now. These are experiences that you've most likely been able to relate to. So as you look at the listings here, we see a lot of things related to our mental and emotional health. So fear, worry, anxiety, depression, loneliness, feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, feeling irritable, having difficulty concentrating, perhaps changes in sleep or eating habits, increased stress on families and relationships. If you already have a chronic health issue, the times like this certainly create a lot of concern and stress surrounding those issues that you are already living with. And there's also the chance that there could be increased alcohol and drug use and abuse. And so I want you to know that these are common experiences in a very uncommon situation that we're living in right now. And so if you look at this list and you say, oh my gosh, that's me, or that's my spouse, or that's my son, know that EFR is here to help. Again, I'll come back to our services at the end of the webinar today, but there are a lot of common experiences that we are all going through right now, and chances are you can identify with at least one of these on any given day. So while it is in everyone's best interest to follow guidelines put in place by local and state officials, we know that in life, connections are important and they matter and they contribute to everyone's overall outlook and attitude. And so, like I said, if you're feeling stressed or anxious, lonely, or uncertain, these are all very typical responses to an atypical situation. So now is the time to focus on what you can do instead of what you cannot do. This approach is rooted in attitude, and that's what we are going to talk about moving forward. So I want you to picture a scenario where the little voice inside your head is being broadcast for the whole world to hear. Would you feel comfortable with the message you have running around in your head? And obviously the answer is no. That would be a nightmare for most people, myself included. We don't want people to know what is going on inside our brains and our thoughts and our minds. Our thoughts are supposed to be private. However, I want you to remember that our thoughts have a chain reaction on our words and our actions. And there's an old saying that goes, our thoughts become our words become our actions become our habits become our character, and our character becomes our destiny. And so think about that. Think about maybe what's the message that's been going on inside of your head in the past day, week, month, and how is that message kind of filtering through to your actions and your habits and your character? So I know you're probably thinking, okay, help, it's not that easy. This is a very stressful time. There has to be more to it than just flipping a switch on your attitude. And you're right. You can't just flip a switch and say, today I'm going to have a positive attitude. Or can you? Okay, so think about that. I want you to think in baby steps instead of big picture. What is one small thing you can do today that will flip that switch, that will boost your mood, that will lift your spirits, that will help you out when you are feeling frustrated or anxious? Just like any wellness goal, adopting a positive outlook and a positive mindset takes effort and does not happen overnight. So no one decides that they're going to run a marathon and the next day they wake up and get out and run one, unless they've been training for a very long time. Okay. Likewise, it's not going to be as easy to wake up one day and just say, hey, today's the day I'm going to have a positive attitude. You have to take it step by step and think about how the little things you're doing add up to the big picture in your life. And I also want you to remember that attitudes are contagious, and the attitudes are contagious, and is yours worth catching? So I'll just tell you a quick story. I was on the phone with someone recently, and I asked if they were having a good day. And the conversation started kind of around, how's it going? Are you having a good day? And their response was, well, there's not much good about it. And I could have jumped on that bandwagon and said, yeah, you're right. We haven't seen the sunshine in almost a week. There's nothing to do. Plans have been canceled. Our lives have been disrupted. But instead, in that moment, I decided to say, well, we're talking, we're both alive. Neither one of us have COVID-19. So there's at least a few good things about today. And so that immediately kind of shifted the rest of the conversation towards a positive instead of the negative. And so, well, sometimes complaining feels really good and you need to vent. That's normal. That's okay to feel that way. Think about how you can do that in a productive way. So if what you're about to say is going to add value to someone else's life, add value to your life, or if it's just going to kind of bring you down, bring them down, where can you maybe direct some of that anxiety and frustration? And that's where your EAP benefit can come in hand. And we'll, again, talk more about that later. Another example I'll cite from my personal life, I was feeling frustrated last week with a project I was working on, and I texted a friend and I just said, hey, can I vent to you for a few minutes? And she wasn't available and didn't text me back for several hours. And by the time she did, she said, hey, yeah, I'm available to talk right now. And I just decided that, you know what, I'm kind of over it, and there's no need to go back and rehash that, and really it's not going to add value to my life or hers. So I said, hey, thanks, but I'm good, and I just kind of moved on. So the next time you're feeling frustrated, especially if you know it's something that is a frustration that isn't going to matter in an hour, in a day, in a week, maybe see if you can let that feeling pass. If it's a frustration that's really adding a lot of stress to your life, it'd be a good time to call your EAP. So if you can, at least once a day, turn your frown upside down and think of something in your life you can do, that you're grateful for, that you have access to, or whatever puts you in a temporary place of peace and contentment. Feelings of gratitude will come and go, just like feelings of anxiety and frustration. So I encourage you to jump onto those feelings of gratitude when you can, because even a few opportunities a day can make a big difference. And so here are some different ways that you can support yourself in the coming days and weeks. The first thing I want to point out is it's important in life to have boundaries. So boundaries within relationships, boundaries within your own personal well-being. So you can also establish boundaries related to media exposure, including social media. In the last couple of years, our phones have kind of caught on to the fact that people need these boundaries. And so the software updates to our phones have built in different programs where you can manage how much time you're spending on your devices and how much time you're spending on social media and within different platforms. And so think about that. Are you, engaging with the media in a healthy way, or is it just adding to your anxiety and frustration? So establish healthy boundaries. Pay attention to food choices. I would guarantee that most people who dialed in for this webinar today are working from home. And that means a lot of changes in life and in disruption. And so pay attention to your food choices. Try to eat healthy foods. Those are the things that we need right now, even though it might be easier to reach for things that are more comfort food and fun to eat. Think about your fruits and your vegetables, getting a lot of water, keep yourself healthy, keep your immune system boosted. Establish a healthy sleep routine, or a lot of people call this sleep hygiene. So with regard to sleep, again, if you're working from home, you may not need to get up at your regular time because you're no longer having to carve out time for a commute. Maybe you're not dropping your kids off at school. Perhaps, you're not even going through the typical getting ready for work routine, whereas, you're showering and getting dressed. So establish a good sleep routine. Maybe you can sleep in a little bit more, but still try to get in a good cycle where you're sleeping and waking up within reasonable hours. Find ways to move, sneak exercise into your day. Find time to unwind. Give yourself a little bit of time each day, whether it's 10 minutes or 45 minutes where you can unwind. During a time of social distancing, try to connect with others however best you can and use your EAP benefits. So it's unrealistic to think that you're going to do all of these things every day. I'm going to tell you right now that if you went through this list and you're going to do every single item every day, you're probably going to create more stress and frustration in your life. However, if you pick one thing on that list to focus on today, it could make a big difference. So again, think about what will have the biggest impact on your attitude and what is realistic, and also what you have control over. So right now you do have control over your attitude, but you can't control how long our routines are going to be disrupted. You have control over your attitude, but you can't control someone else's attitude. And so think about that. What is within your reach for what you can do? Reach out for help if you're feeling down. There are people to listen and people who can help you at EFR, and we are just one phone call away. So please do not forget that. We are the people who will hear you when you are frustrated and stressed and feeling anxious or depressed or lonely. Again, I just want to reiterate that these are all very common experiences that we are living in. And so we're all in this together. Most likely the people you work with are experiencing these things. Your family members are experiencing them. And again, EFR is here to help. And you're joining this webinar today because you have access to our EAP benefit. And so I can't emphasize that enough. We are here to help. Different ways we can help. This is just, this slide actually is the slide that we use whenever we do presentations. And so I will note that most of our in-person counseling sessions have been moved to telehealth. And so you would have access to in-person or telehealth counseling sessions. So depending on how long the measures stay in place where people are supposed to be, distancing, maybe you don't feel like you need counseling today, but in 3 months you may. And we all hope that at that point in time, our lives have returned to some kind of normalcy. So reach out to us via phone. We are here to take your calls. You have access to in-person counseling sessions for you and anyone living in your household. So if you are living with other people, again, most likely they're experiencing a lot of the same things you are. They have access to the benefits. We also offer telephonic legal and financial consultation, telephonic elder and child care resources, identity theft resolution, and life coaching. These are free services. They're confidential services, again, for you and anyone living in your household. So don't underestimate how how helpful they could be. And you know what, perhaps you just make that first phone call and explore what your options are. And it's okay if you get off that phone call and decide, you know what, I'm not going to use it right now, but I'm glad that I have more information about it. So give us a call. And mark your calendar for today, because it is April 1st. This is our monthly motivator. So if you have not seen a monthly motivator from EFR, I would recommend you connect with your wellness coordinator if you have one in your work site, perhaps someone in HR. Most likely the person in your workplace that would have this monthly motivator is the person who invited you to the webinar today. So whoever you heard about this webinar through is likely the gatekeeper of this monthly motivator. And again, it's all about attitude. I had no idea that this would be such an important topic when I created this last summer, but I'm sure glad that this is the theme for the month. So basically what you do with this motivator, and these are all things that you can do from the comfort of your own home, you go through the list. There's a top 10 list, and what can you accomplish? So perhaps you make a top 10 list of all the things you like about yourself. Maybe you list 3 good things that came from or that are coming from a not so good situation. That would be especially relevant right now. Perhaps you read an inspiring book. Eliminate can't, won't, and don't from your vocabulary for just one day. Ask someone for help. It might be, informal or formal, but again, your EAP is here to help you. I also want to let you know that EFR has a podcast. It's called Emotion Well, and we can be found in the Apple Podcast app and also the Google Podcast app. So Emotion Well is a podcast related to our emotional well-being. We currently have 3 episodes, and we have more to come. The episodes in our listing currently cover nutrition, healthy retirement, and the opioid epidemic. So a variety of topics, some topics that we are currently producing. Cancer survivorship. We are doing one on the secrets to sustainable success related to weight management. And we are also working on one related to workplace wellness programs and how effective they can be. So again, you can find us in the Apple Podcast directory or the Google Podcast app. Emotion Well, I'm the host of that, and the conversations are good, and the podcasts are usually under 30 minutes. Thank you so much for your time today. This was a short webinar. Most of our webinars are pretty brief. I know that you have other things that you need to get back to, and attention spans sometimes can be limited. So again, we appreciate you. We know that you're experiencing a variety of hardships right now, but we also want to remind you that there are resources available, there is help available, and I want to remind you that your attitude sometimes can make all of the difference. And so if you can just take it day by day, baby step by baby step, and adopt that positive attitude, it could have a tremendous impact on the way you feel both physically and emotionally. Thank you so much for your time today, and make it a great day and a great month.